uncomprehendable. It's just 100 years ago you would say, so enough, you talk about a black president. It's just uncomprehendable to understand something like that.
You know, in the States we have primaries where the actual voter helps select the party's representative. Now, in Shas party, where you have a leader who's installed, who is a convicted felon, is this selection done behind closed doors by the leadership, and not does it reflect, or does it reflect the actual party members, where you would have a primary that selects, or is this something like a closed door session where he has power over by a dozen or so people?
In Shas, different parties have different mechanisms to decide on the list. We talked about it on the last time. It's not according to the law that you'll have a democratic elections on the primaries for the list. It happens in different parties. It happens in the Avodah, it happens in the Likud, it happens in other country parties, it happens with Bennett. It doesn't happen with Yair Lapid. With them it doesn't happen. But you have to understand something else. The fact that he is a convicted felon doesn't change anything for his constituents, for his voters. He is a framed Mizrahi guy, okay, Sephardi guy, who made it to the grade, hit the ceiling, and was framed by the Ashkenazi institutions who owned the court, who owned central, the central, the prosecutor, the general attorney. They owned the police. They framed him, and for 3 years there was a tent camp outside the walls of the prison where they read Torah and yelled, he is innocent, he is innocent, for 3 years when he served in jail.
Right.
For him, he is the scapegoat for them. So it doesn't really matter that the Ashkenazi institutions put him to jail. He is a hero.
There he was dominated by the religious orientation of the...
He stole for them. He didn't steal. He took from the country and he gave. He didn't take to. By the way, he didn't take anything for himself. He gave to, in an illegal way, but he gave it to the schools and for them. He did a mitzvah. Stealing from the Paris, stealing from the Goy. Yeah. Okay. So this is Aryeh Deri. Now, the guy that was, until he came back, the leader of the party, his name is Eli Yishai. Eli Yishai is here. Yeah, man, you can see that. I'll go over here, but I'll go back to the previous one. So, Eli Yishai withdrew from the party, from Shas. You changing it? Right. Tell me when I'll stop. His party's name is Yachad, which means together. This is his name. Politically, he is very extreme, very right, and socially, he's very left. You don't understand how it works. All right, I explained to you, but I explain the whole thing. You can be a person who is poor and wants the safety network of the government, getting unemployment, or if you work, get enough more money to complete to a minimum income and so on, and still you could be very...
Stop.
That's it? No, you tell me when? Yeah. So again, I'll start and So you can be this. You can be. So you can be this poor person who wants to be economically to be socialist, or to be treated like in a social way, and then you can still be very extremely devoted to your country nationally, and want all the Arabs out. Why not? It doesn't contradict.
So they separate their political perspective from their individual social needs.
Yes, political. Again, there is politics in general, which envelops everything. Okay, social, state affairs, and politics and political view, right, left. So yes, this is what happens. So what happens with Eli Yishai? Look at it says here, together we love every Jew. And there are different kinds of kippas here, which shows the different streams. In Orthodox Judaism, only Orthodox Judaism, there's no other, hardly, it's negligible, really. The form of Judaism in Israel exists. Not that they don't exist, but they are not in the politics, and people hardly know them. So their concept is together we love every Jew. Look at his constituents, where he's going. He's going for ultra-religious who are Haredim. We'll talk about them. We're talking going for lower middle class and poor people, Sephardic, and also Ashkenazi. We'll talk about it. Extreme right. Very extreme right. So this is Eli Yishai. Now what did he do? Eli Yishai he understood. Now again, remember the situation now in terms of technicalities. We have a thresh of 4 seats in the parliament, in the Knesset. 4 seats is huge. Small parties were supposed to disappear. Supposed to. Eli Yishai almost made a political suicide. He withdrew from Shas. Where would he get 4 seats in order to cross this border with this obstacle? What he did, he formed a coalition of the neglected minorities. First of all, he claims to be the real
Messiah.
not yet. He claims to be the real successor of Rabbi Ovadia Yosef. He says, Ovadia Yosef told me to take another direction. Today, just today, I don't have details yet. They are talking about a recording of Rabbi Ovadia Yosef allowing him on his deathbed to form another party. I haven't seen it yet. They're only talking about its content. No one seen it.
How come he didn't bring it up before?
It's like the doomsday weapon.
Huh?
It's the doomsday weapon. He's trying to get it now, just before the last few minutes before the finish line. And he already exposed a few recordings before that only hurt him. Okay? He exposed a few recordings that were taken before, and those recordings presented him as someone who's trying to, as the bad guy, let's put it this way. So he's afraid of doing it. It's really, but this is the doom. So now they're talking, they're checking the wind. So it's not out yet. There's a lot of dirt that's going to come out in the coming 2 weeks. So what he did, first of all, he's taking about half of Shas, Sephardic ultra-Orthodox. About half of Shas, but it's not enough. In order to collect more votes, he joined with extreme right-wingers, national ultra-Orthodox, Haredim, but nationalists. It's an animal that didn't exist until now. But it's kind of forming in Israel. Ultra-Orthodox were mostly Ashkenazi, and they are becoming more and more nationalists. It's the hilltop youth. Those are the guys that are running in Judea and Samaria on the hills there, and it's really a no man's land there. I mean, they are just doing whatever they want. Police can't reach to them, and those are the people that if there will be ever an agreement and the Israeli army will have to evacuate places, they are the ones that are threatening them. Blood will be spilled, yes.
I'm confused. Ultra-Orthodox, in my understanding, would mean the ultra-religious, but they don't believe in the state of Israel.
Yes. That's the institutional, that's the institutional,
So how can they be nationalists?
because they didn't read our book.
What?
They didn't read our book, our definitions. They are changing without our permission.
But how can you be nationalist about a country that you don't believe should exist?
No, they do believe that it should exist, but they do believe that it should exist under the rule of God. This is in their belief, okay? The country where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob walked on, it should be a religious country, okay? And the only little tweak that they did is that they perceive the secular state of Israel as a bypass or as a transit time between, between whatever it was before to forming a religious state. And they state the Messiah will come and everyone will be Jewish. Well, I'm not Jewish for them. Everyone will be religious and Jewish, and that's it. And the rule of the country will be the rule of the Torah. And they are led by rabbis. Okay? So there is such an animal in Israel nowadays. Yes, traditionally it wasn't the case, but I'm showing you there are other ultra-religious who have different nationalistic views than we thought. Okay? So, those guys, and they are called Chardalim, which is Haredim, national, Leumiyim, so national Haredim. They have a name, and they're different, kippahs and so on, not black, those white kippahs, knitted, big ones. The way here, okay, those are the national Haredim, hilltop youth and so on. So he formed an alliance with them because he needed the votes. They wouldn't vote no one would be righty enough for them. Remember Rabbi Kahana, Meir Kahana, who was assassinated in New York in the 90s? So those are his successors. Again, they were not allowed to run to the Knesset and so on. They didn't vote whenever. Now they are voting for Eli Yishai.
But what percentage of the population?
A very loud, but small but loud minority. But again, they can bring you 2 seats in the Knesset. They can bring you 2 seats. Okay, so those guys are extreme right-wingers. Their leader is called, they have a few leaders, very known one is Itamar Marzel. He is the one who's thinking about the 3rd temple. He is the one among people that are planning to explode, to bomb the Temple Mount and build the new temple instead. And of course, God will provide the help when time comes. So there are Kahanistim, the Kahana leader followers that are secular. That's Marzel with the new, did I write it in English? I'm reading the Hebrew. With the new temple, the 3rd temple, okay? He's on the 4th spot. So if they go in, he's going to be a Knesset member. This Marzel. And other disappointed people and offended people that didn't get what they wanted from Aryeh Deri went for him as well. So from different religious parties, from Bennett, you know, national parties. So he takes votes from Bennett, from Shas, and from the Likud, the extreme people of the Likud. Yes.
Now, when a bill comes up for passage by the parliament, and you have this collection of minorities, and one of these wacko groups decides, well, it doesn't conform to their idea of what the state, what they want in a state, and originally they agreed to vote with a bloc,
And now they don't.
and now suddenly they don't. Does that mean the collapse of the government? The government can't pass the, what happens in that event?
If the number of, if the vote is critical,
Yeah.
and it's really on the margin, and like 61 votes and they withdraw their support, the bill will not pass.
The bill.
The bill will not pass. If the
Right.
Prime Minister or whoever is right doing it in a practical way does it, he will withdraw the vote, he will
Right.
postpone the vote. You know, there are different technicalities, but sometimes it can happen, yes.
And
No one
then-
wants to rely on them in a narrow government. We'll talk about governments later,
Okay.
okay? But yes, no one wants to really rely on them,
Alright.
okay? So,
So-
this is them,
So if he got half
Yeah.
of Shas's votes,
huh?
if he got half of Shas's votes,
Yes.
Shas doesn't have enough
He
anymore?
didn't have enough. And with them he probably will have. You'll see how much he's predicted. You'll see the
Okay.
polls.
Okay.
Okay, the last one. Again, those are the Arabs. The Arabs, it's even more bizarre than what you talked about before. Okay? The Arabs, again, the Arabs before were three seats in the Knesset, 2 seats in the Knesset, another 3 in the Knesset. They had 11 votes total of 4 parties, 11 votes total. None of them, maybe except for one, would have passed the bar, okay, the threshold of 4 votes, maybe except for one. And basically the law was created in order to block them from going into the Knesset. So this law forced them to join forces and to create create a one party. Now it looks like that the whole will be worth more than the sum of its components. Because now they're planning to have about 11 and they're looking at 15, they're trying to get to, they're aiming at 15. They had 11 before. So what happens here, there is here a consolidation, they're called the Consolidated Arab Party. They took out the word Arab because there is one Jewish candidate there. So they took out the Arab, so it's called now the Consolidated Party. Ayman Uda is a lawyer, very nice person, that is leading them. And it's like 4 parties together. And the contradiction is huge. Huge. They are ultra-religious Muslim Brothers style people who believe in style Islamic State, going with extreme secular communists, going with extreme Palestinian nationalists versus those Muslim Brothers. Okay? It's the contradiction of the contradiction. But they're going together. And maybe inside the Knesset they'll divide and we'll have different votes. Okay? But in any case, they're not going to be part of the coalition. But this is the Israeli, this is the Arab party. Alright. Let's go for the elections. After you understand, supposedly, what I'm talking about now. So here is the last vote. I have a more recent vote of today, but this is from 3 days ago. I'm comparing it. And why did I do the 3 days ago and today's? Who can guess? Because I want to see the effect of Netanyahu's speech. Okay? So I'll give you all the information from here. And again, I had added in English the names of the parties because it's written here in Hebrew. right? So, no, it's not here. I'm done with the page. The cheat sheet is with you. There are even more, few more pages left. So, anyway, the Likud is behind the Avodah. Bibi is behind Bougie. Okay. Here is Bennett, the nice brother, the religious part of the brother, the bald guy, the high-tech guy. Okay. He is National Orthodox Right. The denominations are here. Okay. Here are the Arabs. I didn't need to add anything. Here is Kahlon, right Likud style, right, and Likud style, lower middle class, under poverty line, Sephardic. Here is Lieberman with 6 votes. He had 11, 12 on the polls before the scandal of his party. People, I talked about it last time. Do you remember? So there is the earmarked money that they released as ministers, and then it was channeled to them by whoever received it. The recipient, they gave the money back to them and gave them personal money. So they signed on bills and whatever. They gave government money to different schools, and then the principal took 30% of what he got and gave them back, personally to the banks. Yeah.
It's called a kickback.
Kickback. Right. So there is Yair Lapid with 12 votes. Okay, this is the other brother, the journalist, who was the treasurer. He had 19 before. Here is Shas with 7, and Eli Ishai with 4 on the line, with all the coalition of the neglected. Okay, here the Ashkenazi Ultra-Orthodox 7 votes. This is the poll, and here is Meretz. Now to compare, this is what I showed you last time, which is very similar. But back then the Likud was leading, you see? With 1 vote, this 21 versus 23 or 2. So the Avodah stayed the same. It was 24. That was 24. It was 25 or 6. The Likud lost votes. They lost the votes to other places, to Bennett, for example. Okay? So the Likud is not leading anymore. The Avodah has been leading for a while now. And the rest are kind of the same. So this is March 1 to 3. It's an average of March 1 to 3. Average of 3 days before Netanyahu's speech. Here is Netanyahu's speech, and here is the big graph that we had before. So 22 versus 24. Here we have 23 versus 24. So he got 1 more seat. But overall, the right wingers lost 2 seats. So he basically took it from Bennett, maybe, who lost the seat, 11 versus 12. Okay? Or Yair Lapid was 12, now he's got 13. So this speech didn't really make any difference. Maybe he got a little bit, 1 more vote here, 1 more seat here, but he took it from his friends that together are supposed to be in a coalition of 61. So what do you do? Okay, so the big difference here is that nothing really, is one seat here, and nothing has really changed. This is what's happening now. And here are 2 more. Now where is it? Did I? Let's see. I think I misplaced 1 slide. There we go. Here is the Netanyahu's speech poll, and it's all in Hebrew, I'm sorry, so I'll explain. The question here, did the speech call you to rethink, reconsider your vote? No, said 93%. So Netanyahu didn't really impress the Israelis. 7% said yes, and everyone answered here. It's 100. And the other question was regarding, see who's angry here? Obama. does the speech justify the crisis that was caused with the United States? And they say 43 it's not justified, 29 said justified. In terms of electoral view, Netanyahu didn't really get what he wanted. It was supposed to be the turning point, and it was not yet. Yes, he stopped his crash because he was going down and down and down, and he was behind Bougie, so it kind of stopped it. So the trend went kind of, but let's see how much it holds. We're only 2 days after the speech, so we don't know. Yes.
Has there been any kind of polling to indicate whether they really think that the reason for this, giving the speech in the US was a political or
I didn't see a
political
poll.
purpose?
Had I saw one, I'd bring it, believe me. But I didn't see one. But the general opinion is that it was political for the cause of elections.
Really?
It
It wasn't
had
justified in and
had
of
the
itself.
elections not been,
Yeah.
he would probably take another step. And he actually, and we can talk about it later, I don't know if I have time, but what he actually did is he took himself a few steps back on his real cause to prevent the Iranian Western agreement. Because everyone saw what happened in the States, here in the parliament, here in the Congress. What happened was that some Democrats that would otherwise, before the crisis of the speech, would vote against Obama with the Republicans. They needed 15 votes, 15 Democratic votes in order to create a supermajority.
Right.
That's all they needed to pass to the other side. What Netanyahu caused was that everyone, all Democrats, lined up behind Obama, protecting our president against another power, a foreign power. So he basically only distanced the chance that the parliament, that the Congress will pass a supermajority bill.
Yeah.
So we did.
That was a view prior to the giving of the speech, but then the issue, the countervailing point of view would be that once the speech was given and the congressional leaders actually heard the content, that it may increase the view that we should look again at this treaty and not allow it to be solely within the realm of the executive
Yeah.
branch.
But
So-
I want to tell you that here is my take of the speech, right? Netanyahu backed off. He had to carry the speech because he had no other alternative, but he backed off. He was very, very mellow. He tried not to create, he didn't poke anyone in the eye.
Right.
He didn't poke the president in the eye. And all he said is, this is a bad deal. Now, here is something you want to notice. What was Netanyahu's stated opinion about the speech and about the issue of Iran before the speech? The stated opinion was, no deal. Iran must not have a nuclear option at all. Now, what did he say in the speech? In the speech he said, I want a better deal.
Right.
Meaning he basically took a step back, and now his position is, I'm agreeing to a deal. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure that Iran behaves. Make sure that Iran will not be a terrorist supporting country. Make sure that Iran does this, does that. Stops trying to annihilate Israel and so on. Yes, but he has backed from his total resistance to anything. So he basically backed off. So And I don't know what will happen in the parliament, but I don't believe that the speech will change anything, because he didn't say anything new. And whatever he said, he could have said behind the scene, in private rooms, with 15 senators. And had he convinced them, and they could defect to the other side. He could have tried to do it, but this way now, no one will defect to the other side. He basically blocked and strengthened the coalition of Democrats behind the president.
Well, that's
So-
what Brad Sherman said.
Right, so let's continue here. Let's talk about the elections. So basically, what I'm writing, this is like a take from the newspaper. It spread so much my opinion, so I just copied it. Again, it's for all the students to analyze. But what it basically says is that, and this is the leading concept in Israel, unless there are surprises, and I'll talk about surprises, but here's the leading concept in Israel of what will probably happen. Okay? That the leading concept is that the natural right leaning coalition, meaning the coalition that will be based on the right side of the map, okay, have smaller gaps between the parties. They have much more common things between them, and they are simply aligning more naturally with the Israelis' voter will. Israeli voters will, my English. This is one concept. Another one, or take, or opinion, or element. Herzog is not very charismatic. Herzog is, well, he's a good boy. But he's no leader. He is not swaying people after him. People even joke about his voice, who's very soft. He's like there's a tomboy who is a girl. He's a tom girl. That's what people. He even, I felt embarrassed for him, and he said, I was an officer in the military. I was an intelligence officer, and you are talking about my voice. He said it. It's kind of right. The Congress speech and scandals look like they are helping, whatever happens, they are helping Netanyahu. That was written before the polls, and you can see now they moved a little bit. Anyway, whatever will happen, whether they agree or not agree, Netanyahu's voters will not defect from him because of that. If the scandal will be too big and he'll take too much heat from the president, then they'll say he stood bravely against the superpower as a Jew, as a proud Jew. And if he will get something from it, then of course he's a hero. So nothing will take his constituents from him. But he will not withdraw people from other places. And the other concept, the other thought is that all 11 main parties will pass the 4-6 threshold. All of those elements, and they are there is a common agreement that those 4 elements are valid in the Israeli politics. The only to the fact that Netanyahu will be the next prime minister, because he will have a more solid and a more manageable and easier to create first coalition.
In Israel at the election, what is the turnout?
What do you mean the turnout?
How many people who can elect, can vote, how many vote?
About between 80 and 70%. 70 to 80%. Very high relatively. What happened with the Arabs, why they are looking at 15, now they are on 13? Because they usually had a lower identification with Israel and they voted less. But now, the fact that they're all united, they are expected to raise their percentage of votes. Same population, relatively, but so they are getting more. So, here are, I'm going to give you 3 scripts, okay? All right. Yeah. So here is the leading concept in terms of votes, of government. Okay? Here is the Likud. Here is Bennett. They are automatically right-wingers. This is Netanyahu. This is Netanyahu's coalition. Okay? Here are the ultra-Orthodox. It's the Ashkenazi, the Sephardic Shas, and Yachad with Eli Yishai. They will go where the money is. And they're also righties in their essence. Even if Shas is more leaning towards socialism, their constituents are more naturally, righties. So these are the natural partners. Here is Lieberman, who is righty, but I spotted him with yellow central dots. He is righty, but he's leaning to the right, some to the left, to the middle sometimes, but he'll be here still. Here is Lapid, who is central, and here is Kahlon, who is basically the old Likud, remember, but he's central in terms of economy. Right? They are both hated by Netanyahu. Hated. He was Likud and he withdrew. Lapid was a very bitter enemy. Bennett, who is very much hated as well, he doesn't have a choice, he was him. So I don't know even if Lapid will be there, but anyway, it's quite 65 plus seats. We need 61 minimum. 65 plus seats, it's not bad. It's quite, this is the narrow right government, the classical narrow right government. And again, we don't know how it will turn out. We don't know. But we'll see. This is the prediction according to the votes, to the polls right now. 65 plus seats. Now, another option, again, with those same results, perceived or expected results, here is the hard way, where Avodah Bougie is forming a coalition. The differences and the contradiction there are horrible. The tension inside is threatening to explode every such setting. Remember that his work is very hard to begin with, because about 13 votes from the left are not counted, they are Arabs, they are not legitimate to be in the government if they are giving the government the majority. Meaning, if there is a Jewish majority of 61 votes at least, they may join, but they will not be the ones that are moving it to the 60 plus. And they've never been there. They've never been there. So, but his job is very, very hard, because he's missing 13 lefty votes to begin with. Now, his natural partner is Meretz, the Green Party there. Meretz with him. Shas and Yachad maybe. Now Lieberman hates Meretz. The tension here, I put them together, but because this is where the explosive lies. They hate each other. He's the one that wants to kill the terrorists and so on. They say, hey, come on, they're good. Don't work together. And here is Lapid, who in his term as the treasurer, Lapid also had a political secular agenda of drafting the Orthodox, the Haredim. There is a law now that is not moving because it's not being executed, but there is a law that if they don't go to the military, they'll go to jail. So they hate him, guys. They hate him. Okay, they will not sit with him in the same government, but he's needed here. And with all those tensions inside, there's hardly 61 votes plus around. We don't know exactly. But it's very hard to form such a coalition. So even if he gets enough votes theoretically, the tension inside is immeasurable towards the, compared to the other one. They have much more in common in their life. Here is another option. That they are talking now about it more and more. Lieberman, even him, I should have put him down here. Lieberman, Kahlon and Lapid, that each day they're talking about two others from those three. They will force a unification government, a unified government, between Likud and Avodah. If both leaders will see that they cannot form a government, if someone will stand aside, will say, I'm outside the code, I'm looking at the players, playing around here, I'm not going anywhere, I want to force unification government. No one has 60 votes. If they wanted, now they're talking about Kahlon as the main player here, depending how much he gets, and he's getting stronger from day to day. If he has enough votes, around 10, he would be able to block any block forming here. And he could force a unified government, where they will take themselves, okay, Bennett somehow, the Datiim, the Haredim will go where the money is, and so that's another script. Again, that's based on what we expect now by the polls. Now, what can change? Things can change. Scandals can change swinging votes. Okay? They can change about 5 to 6 seats, the swinging vote that we don't know where they can go. If they will move between right and left, or will go to the center, then the unification government is more likely. So here, those are changes that can happen. They can go between blocks, or between Likud Avodah. If they go between Likud Avodah, that will be a surprise. But we don't know, those are surprises. There is also a sudden surprise. There is also someone who surprises extremely in the votes, in the election day. A superstar that rises like Yair Lapid, 19 votes last time. And every time there is something, there's Lapid or Kahlon, there could be Eli Ishai, it could be the Arab that are getting 15 votes. Or more. 17 votes. Their potential is 24. I mean, if everyone will go to vote. Okay? So, those can be surprises that will change all the three scripts that I showed you, for there will be a whole new game. And and another, after the election, something else can happen. Parties might not recommend to the president what we think that they will recommend. They can go to the president and say, we vote for no one. Or maybe a deal will be done, and then they'll vote for something we don't expect. So those are surprises that can happen. Now we talked about this, and I'm opening it to questions, which I'm sure you have a lot.
Is there an English language website that follows the Israeli election?
Go to Jerusalem Post. It's the best newspaper I know. The Jerusalem Post, it's in English. There is the Jerusalem, there's the Jerusalem Times, like it's kind of playing on the New York Times. There's the Jerusalem Times, which is under, it's like the weekly magazine of the Jerusalem Post with a daily newspaper. Yeah, that will help, and this cheat sheet will help you understand what's going on. Yeah.
Where's Tzipki living?
She's with Bougie. I talked about it before the last time. By the way, I did my homework. Someone asked me about how do we decide on the votes and how many votes and how the percentage. We talked about it last time. We can talk about it as well, but it's after the question. It's in my backup. Okay, here's the Arabs with the four parties, 4 different parties, how the mandates are calculated, the mathematics of it. Okay, here are the original graphs of the little graphs that I showed you in the table, etc. This is some of the scandals. Okay, the bottles, the Sarah Netanyahu. Sarah is behind her. She's under the bottles. Okay, more scandals. Bibi's janitor is opening his mouth and telling how it is behind the scene in the Prime Minister's house. And then there are investigations, police investigations, because that are running. This is the Lieberman's scandal, and here it says in Hebrew the investigation that will start only after the elections, because this is what the General Attorney decided. He will open a criminal investigation about what's going on in the Prime Minister's house, but after the elections. All right, so it's awaiting.
I'm not sure how wide a range of topics you're willing to accept questions on.
I'll tell you
but
where.
try.
I'll tell you where.
I'll try. In Netanyahu's speech to Congress the other day,
Uh-huh.
towards the end of the speech, he made a statement, I don't know the exact words, but it was something along the lines of the days of Israeli accepting genocidal tendencies without fighting back are over.
Right.
You know what I'm talking?
Yes, I know exactly. And there was another hidden threat.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you know of any?
This is one event, and the other event where he said, Israel will never stand alone because we have America with us, but even if Israel stands alone, it will stand alone.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
what's the speculation on the things that Israel might do, if necessary, by itself to counter the Iranian nuclear threat?
The most common spoken openly is an airstrike. But I guess that the real options are not talked in public. And probably cybernetic options, maybe a land operation. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not there. I'm not in the junctions. I'm only fed by the media. I'm not, I don't know, not a general. And had I been a general, I could have told you. So, but the most spoken of, but again, it's, yeah. The Chief of Staff recently changed last week. The Chief of Staff in Israel,
Oh, Chief of Staff.
they changed. And now the former Chief of Staff on civilian is talking. And he gave an interview, and he said, and the interviewer said, do the Chief of Staff, can he do something to prevent an airstrike if the political level decides on it? And he said the Chief of Staff will go there and will put all his weight. He's considered to be quite moderate person. The Chief of Staff will put all his weight that it will not happen, and they will get the answers of what could happen if they do it directly from the Chief of Staff. That's what I said. And she said, did you ever stand in such position? And he said, yes.
What does that mean?
It's, yeah.
One question about the voters. I'm concerned about what we have in this country with voter fraud and people voting who should not be voting, or the way the ballots are counted. What kind of how is that monitored in Israel? What kind of?
In Israel, there is a unique ID, unlike here. Here, we don't have a unique identification. And the unique number that we have is the Social Security number. In Israel, there is a number to every citizen. It's called an ID number. It's unique, same as the Social Security number here. And Israel is issuing a government-issued ID, meaning central government, not state or something. those, you have to vote with this government issued vote and ID, and you have to be, you don't have to register like here. Here, if I want to register to vote, I need to register to vote before. In Israel, they have a central database of all citizens, which we don't have here.
Right.
So they take it from there, and they just schedule you on one of the voting spots. You can only vote in one place in Israel, which is the assigned place near where you are registered to live. And that is it, except for diplomats, only diplomats. Okay, they can vote in where they serve, and soldiers, that there's like a mobile voting poll and it goes around and they can vote in double envelopes. First of all, it goes to the polling place where they're supposed to be as civilians, and then it's checked there. Now, there it's checked against the voting list. And if you are a non-citizen, it is much harder for you to vote than here.
If a person is disabled and not able to get to the voting place, they're disqualified then?
They try to accommodate them. They try.
How many people actually, how many Israeli citizens or who have Israeli citizenship go from here to, specifically to vote at this time of year? How many
Not a
would-
lot, depending on how strongly you feel towards participating. Not a lot. There was a phenomenon. I don't know if it's happening. I don't think it's happening now anymore. Well, I don't know of something like that. So probably it doesn't happen. But there were times that the religions,
That's right, yeah.
with the right of return, executed their Israeli citizenship, and there were like airplanes full of New York Hasidim flying to Israel just to execute their rights and to go back. But it happened in previous years. I don't hear about something like it now.
In the United States, the big, probably the biggest political issue is that of gridlock. In other words, we feel that our country's government is not functioning because of the politicization of matters of content is not being evaluated properly, and it's so filled up with this dissension. Now, purely like in this, the issue behind the speech and all that stuff seemed pretty evident that there was all sorts of issues politically. But in Israel, with the Israeli system, do you feel that the people, the citizens of Israel feel that their government is often similar to gridlock, or do you think that the legislators are able to recognize the important issues and